I love this place.
In case y'all want to come. Let's make this full screen.
Really excited about that.
Right up my alley.
Oh, I don't even know where I am anymore. Okay, so they specifically said to talk about each, to talk about map, destructive map, so map with a bang, and then select. We're going to kind of show you. First let's create an array, okay? So we'll just create array equals, and we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This looks weird on my computer. Cool. So we have an array, it's holding those numbers, and we want to call an each enumerable on it. Stop it. We just want to add 1 to each one of the numbers, right? That's what...
I think it's better.
Sorry, you're good. Cool. So why is it giving me this instead? Okay. Say again? Each returns its own, nothing's actually happening to the array here. Like, this right here is the code block. So inside here, this new variable that we're creating, it's doing this, but then it's still going to return array. So if we called array right now, we would find out that it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing's actually happened to it. If we wanted to print out what was inside of here, we would have to put a little, which you guys should all know by now, puts, and then it will print out. Is the array changed now? No, the array is exactly the same. So we're not actually doing anything to the array. It's just running whatever you put inside of the block inside of there. It'll run it, but not return it. You have to make it return it, or make it do something. So how would we use the each method to return a new array? How can we create a new array? Some people have been trying to do this. Come on, who's on this board? And then putting the each method in here, so like array.each, using the block. Is this going to work? It won't work. It's still going to return the new array. Because we're not putting this new array that we want to create inside of this block. So if we create a new variable outside with an empty array, so like new array equals an empty array, so that's holding the value of an empty array. We can then say array.each new array, and then what would we use to put this new value inside? Shovel operators. So does that make sense? Then we're actually taking the value each time we run through the instance and shoving it inside of the new array.
Does everybody know the shovel operator? You guys use it?
Everybody understands? I know this seems really basic, but this you use all the time, the each method. So if you don't understand it now, like it's a really good time to learn it.
And push is the same thing too.
Yeah, you guys know the
Push
push
is the same.
method too? Same thing in shovel.
You can also chain.
Chain things in the push
Chain
method.
things in the push. But you can't push it.
I've seen a lot of people do this, and I think it's incorrect. It's not incorrect, but it's just bad. It's a bad habit. Say this part is really long, your block is really long. Lose the curly braces and do like each do. Keep this bit, and then just put it on.
And we'll do one of those when it comes up. Like we'll make one because it will. If your code is kind of wrapping, you know that text wrap thing that happens. That's maybe a good sign. Like okay, maybe I should make this into an open do loop instead of like or an open each function instead of it being stuck inside this really long chain. It's for readability's sake. Okay? So it's still returning this value here, but if we type in new array, we get the new array holding that. So the reason you maybe want to use each is you still want to keep the value of the old array, but you want to create something new. Okay? And it's a little bit more manipulative than using map, which always creates a new array. It always does that. Maybe you don't want to create a new array, maybe you just want to search for something or just want to create something in the moment, just want to test something out, use the each. Or maybe you want to print something to the screen, you can use the each, okay, to manipulate whatever variable you're using right now.
What did you say about map?
We're going to go into map.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Is that a good explanation of each? Do you guys understand that? Do you guys think that using that I is a good idea?
You should be a little more specific.
Agreed. It's a number, so maybe like num or number. When you start, I don't know whose code I was reading, but I was going around you guys and looking around, and somebody had like 400 eyes in their little thing, and I was like, what are you doing? I have no clue what any of this means. And like, well, this is the index, and this is the number, and this is the, but you're using I over and over. It's like I dot something, and I couldn't read it.
That might have been me.
And I was like,
I do that
you
all the time. But well, not in my code, just like, playing around in IRB.
I don't know, I was real confused. And I was like, just change this to like a number, like to something that you would use that makes a little more sense.
You'll get way better at that this week. Like
It
when
will.
I do OO with like
Yeah.
full time with you guys. You'll understand more of Pooter and all that stuff.
Yeah, it starts to click. It really does, and it's great when it happens, because for the first week I really felt like I was in a fog, like I didn't know what was what. So, alright, let's do some map. What does map do, first of all?
It replaces. Someone described this.
It returns it.
It returns a new array, but it doesn't affect the old array, or the original array.
Correct. I was going to say, does it? Okay, so let's go back here. We'll just change this, get rid of this guy. And for good naming conventions, we'll change this to num from now on. Cool. So what is this going to return? Knowing that right now array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's going to return 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But yes.
It's array, not new array.
Oh.
Focus on just the original array we created. Okay, so what is array right now? If we typed in array and hit enter, what would it show me?
It's going to be the original array.
Yeah, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this is not changing anything. This is just returning a new array. So what would this be useful for if we were trying to create a new array without using a bang? How could we do that?
Then you would set equal to a new array.
Exactly. This is when we could use that new array is equal to, and then write out that whole map.each. Well, let's just do it.
And everybody knows what a bang means.
We're going to use it, so.
No, I just want to know. I didn't know what the word bang meant. I didn't know what that exclamation point. And Zach mentioned that he wants you guys to kind of get away from that. If you're using that, until you fully understand, because I still don't fully understand, there's other ways of doing it than destroying your original array. And very few times you need to destroy your original array for what you're doing. You can probably make a new one. So like using a bang, maybe it's not the best idea right now.
This array takes up like absolutely no space. So like making a new variable with another one takes up absolutely no space. So don't worry about creating like 900 variables if you're trying to keep track of things. Just keep doing it until it makes sense.
So array.map with a bang would just make the array that new array, basically. But array.map would just return a different array.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
I was
do
so confused on that.
we're gonna do a bang next. But what is so we just did this. We created new array equal to array.map times 3. So now we're multiplying the number by 3. What is the actual array? Just array right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Exactly. It's still the same. And new array is equal to 3, 9, 6, 12, 15. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah?
What's this, sorry, this is off topic. What's a situation where you would use like a bang in base command
whenever you intentionally want to destroy the actual array that you're looking at. So like, let's say somebody has a bank account, or many bank accounts, and they have money, and they're taking money out. You want to permanently change that amount. You don't want them to like have the old amount and then a new amount. You want the amount they have. You don't want them to have like more money than what they think they do.
Okay.
You know, unless you're Bank of America and they want your money, it's gonna go over. It's happened. So let's do a bang. Let's use the bang case. And what it really is that I think that, not you guys, but even I myself, I would just kind of try them all. I would just, if it wasn't returning what I wanted, I'd be like each, then I'd just throw map, and then I'd like throw map with a bang, and like whatever returned the one that I wanted, I'd be like, that's the one you use, you know? But like, being able to manipulate it is actually much more powerful, and you need to understand them. And I don't think I understood them until the end of phase 1, you know? But understanding them in the beginning is so much better. So now we're going to replace the actual array using an array, using the bang method. You can add the bang method to a bunch of these method calls. It will always make it permanent. Just remember that. And if you don't know if you can use it, just try throwing it on there. See if it works. If it doesn't work, that means you can't use it. So right now, we're going to say array, which we know is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to multiply everything by 4. Okay? But not a dollar sign. So we know already, since we talked about it so much, that this is going to change the array permanently. Okay? So we no longer will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll always have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Okay? So let's say that bank account thing is nothing we really think of right now. But like, you really want to make sure that you know you're going to destroy the original array. You know? If you're passing in values, and binary search is a really good example of that. Like the values, we always want to be able to go back to the original binary array that we're trying, or the original array we're trying to search through. If you destroy that, you're not going to be able to find the number. Does that make sense? So,
Hey Mike, I have a question.
What's up?
So what happens if I'm using map and I pass a true and false block?
Inside of the...
So if I did non-greater than 4%, or greater than 12%.
Can you say your question again?
Oh, I'm sorry. So what if I pass a truthy or falsy block and I use map? What does that return?
I don't know, let's find out.
Would you know you can do that?
No.
Did anybody know you can do that?
Is there any use for doing
Yeah,
that?
that's great. So if you're going through the entire array and you want to like check for a certain condition, map is used for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you did a truthy falsy for the next one's method, you're just selecting the check.
Yes.
And that's for
That's a little different.
But why would you use bang? I'm confused.
Well, not that.
We didn't. So right now the array will actually hold false, false, false.
Okay, yeah,
true.
I want to double check. Like you, alright.
It's okay, we can change that very quickly.
You probably shouldn't use bang like at all right now.
I would
can't
stay
think of
away
any
from
challenge
using bang.
that you needed.
Yeah, that
I'm
would be
still
like
trying- I'm
a,
still trying to think of like another use for it besides.
Yeah.
Besides banks.
That could be good for like evaluation array. You know, you have falses or trues because you're evaluating something.
Yeah. It's like, if you ever want to permanently affect it, that's when you need to know to use it. If your guys are using it for Sudoku, like when you're making possibilities, like you want to permanently change the possibilities when you find something new that'll go inside that array that you're holding those possibilities in. You know, you might be using push or pop or delete or whatever it is, you know, but there's other ways to do it. You could use map and map a whole new array and destroy the old one that you had, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
yeah.
That's another way of doing it.
That's what's up.
Also, there's a little secret. Did you guys know you can subtract arrays from each other?
Yeah, we learned that yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
No, no, I mean, our group did. I don't know if everyone was.
Well, then that means you can explain it to them.
Let you talk.
Okay. So you have array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you subtract. Like, say, actually make a new array. Just make subtract array 2. And put, well, yeah, subtract those two and there'll just be a nil array, I imagine, right?
Oh, or an empty array.
Empty array, yeah.
Mhm.
Can you explain like what assuming you will, just like what array looks for, or what the subtraction looks for?
It's looking for like things within the arrays. So 1, 2, we could use actually 2 separate arrays that have different values. So let's say this only had 2 and 3 in there. So when we subtract, so we'll only get rid of 2 and 3. It will leave you with 1, 4, and 5. It's just a way to compare arrays.
So it's not actually like subtracting, it's just removing those numbers from one another.
It's removing like values within the 2
I gotcha.
arrays.
What happens if you do that instead of minus, you do Anderson?
If you did the
I actually
reverse,
don't know, I think it does.
array 2 minus array.
I don't know. Let's make them. Huh? Oh, I never let's go. Yeah. It's right there. We'll make array 2, 2, 3. And you want an ampersand?
Yeah.
Stop. So what they have in common?
Oh.
Interesting. Huh?
That's the intersection. If you put the pipe, it would be the union, so you could hopefully get the sum of both.
Yeah, they were. Cool. Anyways, you can play around with that on your own. Right now, let's talk about select. What's his turn? IRB?
You can do maybe.
Cool. So let's finish what's an array. Array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does anybody know what select does before we?
Like, it collects elements based on a true or false condition.
Exactly. So let's say we want to find numbers that are even numbers. What could we type in to the code block?
Like modulus 2 equals 0. Non-modulus 2, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else could you do?
Modulus 2 equals.
Num dot even question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some methods that you
You
can.
have to do.
Okay. So this will search each number, anything that's divisible by 2 and equals 0. Everybody knows what the modulus does, right? Okay, cool. And the same thing with odd numbers.
What happens if you call array right now? It's still the same? You're just selecting out your elements? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you put like even numbers equals array dot select? Would that work? Would that push the block values into the array?
Even numbers.
So like you have a new array called even numbers, and it equals array dot select our block. Would it select those values from the block and put them in there, or do you have to, just the same thing that we went over for each and map?
So if it has, I'm sorry, I'm not following what you're saying. So a new array with even numbers.
Yeah, equals empty array, yeah. All right.
And you want to push the even numbers into?
Yeah, the
this.
ones we select, how do we get them in there? Do we put it in the block?
In the block.
In the block, that's what my question is. Thank you.
I don't think you have to, you can
No.
just like
Yeah,
array
it returns
even equals
an array
that.
element.
So you can do it either way.
The new, like, array even.
Array
Equals
even
that.
equals array select.
But you could do, I'm guessing you could do it either way,
Okay.
but that's just probably
That's probably the
syntactically
way.
better.
I would
Yeah.
rather do it the second way, yeah.
Yeah.
Array even equals array not select. It'd be clear when you're
Well, you would
reading
have
it.
to
Yeah,
say,
sure.
The thing
So we'd have to say blah, 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 blah,
when you're
blah.
using map and select, is that you don't have to set the empty array first, so you can always select.
If you're using map instead of select,
Map and select both. That's just Ruby's way of setting you not to set the empty array, you have to set it up first.
You'd have to do
You
something
can
like
set
this.
some variable equals to whatever is returned.
okay. Oh, so you don't have to, like on line 32, we didn't have to declare that
You don't have
an
to.
array.
So
Okay.
line 32, just all you need.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
what if you did num plus 2? Next line.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to do it if that,
Yeah.
If the num plus 2 equals 0?
No, just do
What would that
value
be?
with each. This is like num times 2. This is like
It won't select anything.
But you have to declare array even above first, Michelangelo. On that second one.
Right, but I'm just for purpose of it. This is the same thing here. So those two lines are equal to the same thing. So that's your way of pushing it in while you're inside the block.
Yeah.
And then the one above is like setting it to a variable and then setting it equal.
Yeah, the second one, you have like the if statement in there.
Yeah.
No,
It's
for the
here.
second one, you also have to define array. Array even defined
Yeah.
because it's above.
I understand
But if
that.
you don't have that, you have to have array even equals an empty array. Otherwise, you'd be pushing into something that doesn't exist.
Right, but we're defining the array. You always have to define even. Like this way, the second way down here, we're assuming that you've already created an empty array outside. The one there, this one here doesn't require you to create a new variable because you're creating one in the moment. This one requires you to have this, okay? Because it won't recognize what this means unless it already has the variable created.
Gotcha.
33.
And I mean, that line 34 kind of defeats the purpose of select if we use each. So, I mean,
Right, yeah, okay.
the one you want to go with is line 33. That's the syntax we want to go with.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You could also use a bang if you wanted to. If you wanted to affect...
Will you guys make up your minds about this?
No, but this would not create a new array. This would affect the array that you're actually.
Okay.
So like, let's say you wanted the array, get rid of that line, all of this here. I'm just trying to teach you how the bang works. You could bang this, right?
I sure can.
And what would it do?
Array would just be 2 and 4 then, right?
But you don't want to do.
You don't want to do that?
You just don't do it. It's no reason
with
to.
line
It's really no
33.
reason to.
The only time, again, like maybe you would want to use this is if they're saying, okay, here's a list of numbers, but we only want you to use the even numbers in this list of numbers. Make that happen. So then you could do two things. You could either destroy the information they're giving you and only use the even numbers, hoping that they'll never ask you for the odd numbers back again.
Right.
Or you could just create a new variable, even numbers, and just use those even numbers over and over again and still have the original array to reference.
Keep it cleaner.
Yeah. I have never used the bang since like the first week.
Okay.
I haven't had to destroy anything. I always keep the original.
Smart.
And even in the first week, there was a better way to do it than
Yeah.
destroying.
I just didn't know what I was doing. I was literally just trying everything.
Are we destroying it, Sudoku?
What were we
No,
gonna-
no.
So thanks for
I'm
coming.
just like, I've been just trying to read more Pluto and like wrap my head around it. You're talking about how code should be true. I don't remember, T was transparent, R was reusable. And like, it makes sense you don't want to use the bang because you want to be able to reuse as many parts as you can, right?
Exactly.
That's not really what it
Yeah,
means.
that's
When,
That's what I'm saying.
I think
when they talk about reusable, it's like,
You're talking about
single responsibility.
yeah, like you want to be able to, you don't want to like type in things over and over and over and over and over again. So you want to, yeah, you want to, if you're writing something over and over and over, you might want to make a method that does it, and you're reusing that method. That's one way of thinking of it, you know? And what's another way to describe reusable? There's other ways.
if you have a chunk of code and you might want to use that chunk of code in another project, then you want to make sure that you can do that. And that's kind of what that kind of means, reusable.
it also, what you said is not untrue either. Like, you can then reuse your array in whatever instance of it and manipulate it however you want to because it's still there. That's reusable. But what AJ is saying is like jumping off of that, your naming conventions of your code, like when you name a method something and you name it specifically, you can say, oh, I have a method that does this in another program. Let me just go use that same method. It cuts down on so much time if you're trying to refigure out something, especially if it is complicated. So you come up with a binary search, but then you call it like loop-de-loo, like you don't know what that does, you know? So calling it binary search, like you know, like, oh, I have a binary search method in something, we'll find that really quickly.
And
you know?
also you want to minimize dependencies so that you can reuse it in a different piece of code instead of having to change everything
Yeah.
just for that new piece of code.
Which you guys haven't really gotten into, but you will next week get into a lot of things depending on other things and how to not have
See you guys,
it
I'll see you on Monday.
So,
Thanks a
alright.
lot, fellas, I really appreciate your time.
Don't get in trouble, I don't wanna read about you in the
That's the whole
paper.
goal.
What was the thing you were asking me?
I was asking you to have a truthy or not a truthy.
You wanted,
No.
let's reset the array.
With
And you want the select. And what did you want to say? Not plus one.
Actually,
Nothing. So it's saying nothing equals that. Okay. Does anybody have any questions
Good job.
about anything? Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Alright.
That was great,
Hopefully
thank
you
you.
guys found this useful.
Also,
Yeah,
I
did.
suggest you do this by yourself with hashes, because hashes are confusing, at least to me.
Learn hashes.
Yeah, so I definitely did that actually the other day, so definitely do that before phase 2.
There is one tool that you guys can download. It's called Dash. I don't know if you've heard of it. This is the docs from online, but like you don't have to be online to access them. I know somebody mentioned
Ooh, yes.
this has like everything inside of it.
than what I mentioned, yes.
So like you could be on the train or like disconnected and like look up
It's called Dash?
everything. It's only on maps.
Oh,
Where can I get this?
Just the App Store. It's free.
I got it on my phone.
Dash.
On your
Just so
cell.
you guys know, there's not a lot of coaches here on the
Do you have it on
weekends
your
and
phone?
stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh,
we're
God,
here pretty
man.
late, so like, if you ever wanna ask anybody
Sorry.
questions,
Yeah, I
like,
have an hour and a
feel
half
free.
commute.
You don't really have
So-
coaches here on the
That's, I mean, I use
Yeah,
it
I'm
every day.
looking for stuff.
Jonathan.
I have like a 45-minute one and I just,
Oh, yeah.
I sit on my computer every
Yeah,
day.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Steve?
Or maybe he's
Is there a
Um,
code on the train?
I'm just saying, we don't
I
usually
do.
have them very often, there's no one here.
Has
so-
anybody ever given you weird looks or like stuff?
I don't care.
Oh no, it's like,
Thanks for
I think
coming,
it was
guys.
Thursday.
Thank you.
Cameras, man.
Somebody was giving